Thank you very much and welcome to the Idea Challenge competition. I hope you're as excited as I am. The teams have been working on developing an idea for the past couple of months, and I'm sure they're very excited to present to an esteemed panel of judges and also esteemed colleagues. To kick off the Idea Challenge competition, we'd like to kick it off with an introductory speech from Jarrod Borkat. This speech is aimed at providing you as LOTs with an insight on how to think with an entrepreneurial mindset. Jarrod Borkat is a 15-year veteran in the biopharmaceutical industry. He joined MedImmune in 2010, where he currently serves as Senior Director, Head of Global External Partnerships and Collaborations. Before joining MedImmune, Jarrod worked at Boehringer Ingelheim, also known as Pharmaceuticals, for 11 years, rising through the ranks in sales and commercial organization. During his time at BI, he spent 2 years in Germany, working at the corporate headquarters, leading the global commercial strategy for the CNS franchise. Jarrod has won multiple awards throughout his career, including being recognized as an industry top 25 direct-to-consumer industry market of the year in 2007. He's also active in several industry organizations and has served in industry-related panels. Jarrod earned his M.B.A. from Kennesaw State University with concentrations in finance and marketing, and earned a B.S. in biology from the University of Georgia. Jarrod is part of the GapSummit 2017 Advisory Board and has been immensely instrumental in the success of GapSummit 2017. Please help me in welcoming Jarrod Borkat.
Good afternoon, everyone. So this is a really exciting day, a really exciting conference, and congratulations to all of you for being a part of it. Before I get started talking about an entrepreneurial mindset, I just want to clarify for the judges, you're not judging me, you're judging the people who come after me. So now that we've got that clear. So just by a quick show of hands, how many people in here have already started thinking about the legacy you're going to leave behind in the future? Outstanding. I think you are probably well ahead of the curve because many people don't start that until they're well into their 40s. So congratulations to everybody. One aspect of thinking with an entrepreneurial mindset and pushing the boundaries, that's sort of what I'd like to talk about, is thinking outside of the box and really thinking about an entrepreneurial mindset, which many people think that means you have to be an entrepreneur to think that way. And what I'd like to demonstrate is that's not actually the case. It applies to everyone, whether you're the founder of a company or the manager of a team of 1,000 people in a multinational corporation. Among other things, having an entrepreneurial mindset means taking smart risks, having the courage to be bold, seizing opportunity before others, and having diversity of thought. You need to do something that scares you. We were talking a little bit, or Deji was talking a bit earlier about some of my background. A long time ago, I did something that made me a little bit nervous. I decided to run a marathon on all 7 continents with my father. And about 8 years after deciding to do that, we actually completed that task. Do something that's not necessarily in your job description. Think about how else can you add value to the organization, to whatever your mission is, and go well beyond what's in your everyday job description and do something because you know it needs to be done, even though you might not be tasked with that. One of the best examples that I've ever heard of using an entrepreneurial mindset was when I was at a bio conference listening to a speech by Sir Richard Branson. And he told a story of a time when he went to see his girlfriend, who at the time of the speech was his wife of many years, and his flight got canceled. So what did he do about that? He could have waited till the next flight. That's probably what most of us would have done. But instead, he talked to the right people in the airport and chartered an airplane, a small plane. But he thought, you know what? There are a bunch of other people whose flights just got canceled, so why don't I go talk to them? And maybe a few of them are actually willing to pay me money to help defray the cost of my flight. So that's exactly what he did. And a few hours later, he thought, after they arrived, you know what? How hard could this be to start an airline? Well, that's how he started his airline. He thought he could do just as well as anybody else. So now I will give you a much less impressive example of thinking with an entrepreneurial mindset, and that's from my own personal experience. So rewind my life to when I was in my 20s. which I'm guessing many of you think that was only a few years ago, but that's not the case. I was a pharmaceutical sales rep by day, so I spent my days calling on physicians, selling my products, but my days didn't end there. I'd get home at night and think about, well, what else can I do to either help me personally, or my district, or my company as a whole? So I'll give you one example of something that I did that was well beyond my job description. I thought of a really creative idea for a promotional item that I could use in my physician's offices. So I created a prototype. I walked around the next week or two talking to my physicians about it, getting feedback from the staff. And then, based on that feedback, which was very positive, I then wrote a 3-page proposal and submitted it to the director of marketing for that brand. Unfortunately, the idea itself didn't gain a lot of traction. However, my reputation and credibility did. And as a result of that, within 2 years, I was pulled out of the sales force and brought into the marketing department, which was the shortest time period that had happened in the history of our company. Thinking outside the box, many of you might spend your days in the lab. And I guess the question that I would pose to you is, what else are you doing to get alternate perspectives? So in my case, I was trying to think about marketing. I had talked to a few marketing people before I did that, really to learn a little bit more about that side of the business. So if you're in a lab, what are you doing to learn more about drug development? Or are you taking courses that are outside of your everyday aspirations? Are you potentially volunteering, either in an organization or with someone who, if you're in science, may be working on the business side of the industry, so that you can have a better, broader perspective of what you're doing in the context of the holistic picture and ultimately what might benefit patients. Now I'll give you a slightly more recent example that I think fits nicely with the content of this summit. I guess about 2 years ago, I was leading a group, and we were tasked with finding partnerships with governments, universities, and foundations. But it was at a time where, from a budgetary perspective, we were somewhat limited, and we had to think creatively. So I challenged myself and challenged my team with thinking outside of the box and doing something that maybe didn't perfectly fit with what we were supposed to be doing. Out of that discussion, one of the initiatives that we implemented was a partnership with Johns Hopkins University, whereby students can now get their PhD, a normal PhD at Hopkins, but during that time, they can have a co-mentor thesis advisor at MedImmune, and then in the last year of the PhD, they can spend 1 year at MedImmune in a different function. And the purpose of that was to provide an alternate path for PhD students, those who were interested in moving to industry as part of their careers. That initiative gained national media attention, and again, it came from us thinking with an entrepreneurial mindset and thinking outside of the box. So I think these examples highlight two important aspects of thinking entrepreneurially. First is you can apply this mindset to everything you do, whether or not you're starting a company. And second, we all need to push the boundaries of what we know and do today in order for us to evolve personally and in order for society to evolve. If we don't, we'll be left behind. There's one last comment I'd like to make regarding thinking with this type of mindset, and that is never be afraid to ask questions and ask for help when you don't know the answers. Whether you're trying to identify what an appropriate market might be to pursue next, whether you're trying to figure out which one of your ideas to move forward with, or whether you just want to know what a nanobot is, don't be afraid to reach out to your network. And if you don't have a strong network, build that network. Most people are more than happy to provide advice. So as I close my comments and hand it over to the young entrepreneurs who will change our futures, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'd like to also encourage all of you to continue pursuing your passion and never give up. So with that said, I will hand it back over to Deji, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Jarrod. That was a fantastic speech. I think it's something that we can all do in whatever realm we might be thinking with an entrepreneurial mindset. I think it makes you break barriers and go outside of the norm. At this point, I'd like to hand over the microphone to our dear Challenge Director, Steve Fernandes.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It has been an exciting time for Deji and myself to coordinate and execute this Idea Challenge competition. With the help from Anna Gould, our advisor from Global Biohealth Revolution, and support from my colleagues, the organizing committee for GapSummit 2017. It has been a learning experience, a journey from interacting with our global leaders of tomorrow via email just until Tuesday, June 6th. We exchanged a hug and greeted each other by our first name instead of just saying, "Hey, my name is Steve Fernandes. I'm from Portugal." The Idea Challenge competition was designed to generate innovative ideas to address gaps and challenges facing the global biotech life science industry between now and 2050. Thank you. Over the 3-month period, the Idea Challenge competition was split into 4 phases. Phase 1 was team building. Within the first 10 days, we virtually introduced team members to each other over Google Hangout. In that time, 20 team names were generated and submitted to us for bookkeeping. Phase 2 was the ideation process workshop, where the key concepts in the ideation process were delivered in the form of short video clips by Dr. Andreas Lauston. Subsequently, the teams were virtually introduced to their mentors. Phase 3 was the idea generation. During the entire month of April, the LOTs were involved in generating individual ideas as feasible solutions to problems in the assigned gap. In total, we received nearly 50 individual ideas during our first mentor call. On the second mentor call, each team prepared 1 to 2 ideas, and a title was finally submitted and delivered by the first week of May. And finally, the phase 4 was the proposal generation. The key criteria were set for their proposal preparation. First, innovativeness of the idea generated. Second, the defined problem and an impactful proposed solution. Third, a realistic implementation. And fourth, feasibility of the approach to making the idea a reality. So LOT surveys were conducted on the workshop that was provided, and we received 68 responses from the 100 LOTs by participating from 20 teams. I would like to highlight the key takeaway messages provided by the LOTs from the session or elements that were provided in the workshop. They liked the key takeaways were go out of your habitat. Ask people working in other fields about the problems they encounter and why they want them solved. Keeping your mind open to different solutions and think that everything is possible. To create a grading and a criteria matrix to actually assess a problem once you find one. Look for trouble. Question yourself, is my idea novel? Just Google it. I cannot appreciate enough the time put in by our valuable mentors for the ideas generated by our teams over the period. The poster presentations held on June 6 showcase some ideas, along with the top 8 pitches, which you will hear soon could not be made possible without their outstanding mentorship. Some of them are present here in the audience, and I would like to acknowledge the mentors who are not able to make it, and a big thank you. Last but not the least, our young leaders of tomorrow, entrepreneurs, students, professionals who put their effort invested their time to make this idea challenge competition experience a success. The LOTs were part of global teams working on unaddressed issues causing gaps in biotech. Working remote meetings and time zones were very, very difficult. We were on a call in the middle of an earthquake. And we said, I'll be back. And we wondered where she went. But I strongly believe we try to accomplish our goal to challenge, grow, and connect. Over the past 3 months, disruptive ideas and novel solutions proposed by our LOTs to the 6 biotech gaps were phenomenal. The GapSummit Executive Board, along with the entire judging panel, were left ecstatic upon reviewing all the proposals received in a timely fashion. We will provide extensive mentorship and business guidance to the top 3 teams moving forward. On behalf of the 2017 GapSummit Executive Board and the UK-based Global Biotech Revolution, I wish all the teams the very best and successful times ahead. All right, now the good part. So before we hear our top 8 teams pitch their ideas, I would like to introduce our esteemed panel of judges who spared their time to be with us and judge this competition. We have with us Ben Gruitt, Director, Sustainability and Advanced Bioproducts, Corn Refineries Association; Douglas Liu, Senior Vice President Head, Global Operations, Kaizen; Jeff Reed, Founding Director, Georgetown Entrepreneurship Initiative; John Trainer, Vice President and Head, Partnering and Strategy, MedImmune; Olivia Cheng, CEO, Aurora Healthcare Corp. And Trustee, Tufts Medical Center; Prashant Girinath, Associate Attorney for Wilson Sonsini Goodrich and Rosati; and Rosemary Truman, Founder, CEO, the Center for Advancing Innovation. As I said earlier, we have 8 teams pitching today. Each team will have 7 minutes to pitch their idea, introduce their team, followed by a Q&A session by the judges. Due to time constraints, we are limiting questions to judges only. Thank you. In no particular order of preference, we will have 4 teams pitch first, a brief break, and reconvene for the final 4.